Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Darrell Owens, and we are here for another edition of One-on-One here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. Look, we're pumped. We're excited. As we enter week 10 of the NFL season, the trade deadline is gone. Some moves were made, some new faces in new places. The biggest one probably for the Commanders, Marshawn Lattimore, new cornerback in D.C., and them boys trying to go to the Super Bowl, and I'm here for it. Like literally, just all the way forward. Just let's make that thing happen. Whatever way it takes, let's make that thing happen. That's pure selfish reasons. I mean, look, want to see the green and gold over everything, but that selfish reasons, left hand up. Who are we? But with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into episode 147 of the NFL Power Rankings here on One-on-One with your boy, of course, and we are ready to get into it. Let's start the show now.
One, 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 one. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to One-on-One at Legacy Maker Sports Network.
Yeah, we are here, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 147 on One-on-One, week 10 of the NFL season. Only 8 weeks left and playoff time. It's November now. We're in the second week of November. And before you know it, January will be here, new year, new other stuff, but that's outside of this realm. But with all that being said, it's going to be a great show. We're excited to talk all the good stuff that we got going on. The bottom, there's a new team at the bottom, the outside looking in, all that fun stuff. And then, of course, the top 10, the finale, the Kings of the Gridiron. We're getting into all that here on episode 147. Kind of find out where things are standing in the NFL as of right now. And I always, to me, feel like these are true to heart power rankings. I'll always say that. So here we go. Let's get it started with the bottom. All right, this week at the bottom of the bottom, the bottom of the bottom. This week, the New England Patriots. New England actually had a pretty good game against the number 2018 when it's power ranking the Tennessee Titans. It was a good back and forth battle in overtime. Drake May continues to grow. It's a process, but he's growing. You can see he's starting to play pretty solid so far this season. It's not like over the top great. Obviously, when you see guys like Jaden Daniels doing so well and Caleb Williams having a decent run, so when you're the third guy, you're the third pick of the draft, you're going to get some attention as well. But he's played pretty decent since I've seen him play in the preseason. Now, maybe I gave him an unfair judgment, but I will say Drake May is playing pretty good football. It isn't lights out, but it's good football. It's solid NFL football for a rookie. So I think he will continue to grow. He made a mistake at the end of that game against Tennessee, and Tennessee was able to take advantage of it, and they win that 120-17. But New England, who has surprised here and there, well, they're going to be competitive, and they've been competitive pretty much the whole season. I got them at 32, but it's just where they got to be for now. At 31, the New Orleans Saints. Boy, oh boy, let me tell you something. This is a bad football team. And it's crazy because there's a lot of talent on this football team. Losing to the Carolina Panthers, the number 29 team in this power ranking. The Saints team has lost 7 straight games. They made a real strong case to be the bottom team. But I look at the overall talent, the Kamaras, the Derek Carrs, and I had to give the Saints the edge, but man, it's not a big edge. I mean, if they lose again next week, I don't know. I don't think they're going to buy this week. If they lose again next week, there's in my heart of hearts, there's no way that they're not the worst team in the NFL. I had them going 4-13 at one point. They are proving my point. They don't look like they're going to win any more games. They're going to make me look 100% right. So I do appreciate that, New Orleans. Not what I like Kamara's my guy. So I hate that, but it is what it is. After losing that 23-22 matchup to the Panthers, Dennis Allen loses his job. They fire him, which I was surprised he even got a second, go around because his first time was rough. And so now they will, in the offseason, be looking for a new head coach and more likely a new quarterback to kind of connect together. That's my personal opinion, but we'll see. Saints are at 31. At 30, the Vegas Raiders, another team that will be looking for a quarterback in the offseason, looking to draft. Maybe a Shedeur Sanders. That's the big rumor that everybody's been talking about. They went into Cincinnati and they just got beat up, 41-24. Trey Hendrickson had 4 sacks in this game. The Raiders' offense looks abysmal. They look so bad, they decided to bring in Norv Turner and Scott Turner to help with this team. I know what Scott Turner record is with the Commanders, so I don't know how good of a move this is really going to be, but we'll see. But the Raiders are terrible, and even though Devontae Adams got out and they're only one game better, he's in a better spot, way better spot. Raiders are at 30. At 29, the Carolina Panthers still trying to figure things out. Get win number 2. Bryce Young has started the last couple of weeks. He will start this week. I think he's playing better football than he was at the beginning of the season before they took him out. So he's growing. And maybe that time behind Andy Dalton gave him a chance to just kind of sit and watch. And the numbers are not sexy. 16 for 26, 171 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. They're not sexy, but they're better than what we had been seeing from him. Panthers are at 29. At 28, the Tennessee Titans. They get their overtime win against the Patriots, 20-17. And that's another team where it's just like, I don't know what they are right now. I really just don't know what they are. And, they're just one of those teams that are just kind of sitting at the bottom right now, just truly just sitting at the bottom. And I don't know what their direction is. I don't know what their plans are. They done bench Will Levis. And so I don't know what Tennessee's got going on, but they're at 28. At 27, the New York Football Giants. Here's the thing I got to say about the Giants. They're not amazing, but to me, I think by the end of the season, somehow, some way, they're an outside looking in team at the end of the season. They have played tough football. Like, they've hung in a lot of games, but they haven't been. They just haven't won them. Like they've been in some games, but they just weren't able to win. I know that maybe you're like, oh, Darrell, you giving them out? No, it's like you look at these games that they've played. There's only a couple that they got kind of beat up on, but the Vikings beat them up at the beginning of the season, but they hung in with the Commanders the first time, 21-18. They hung in with the Browns, winning that one 21-15. They hung in with the Cowboys, 20-15. They beat the Seahawks 29-20. They lose to the Bengals 17-7. They get blown out by the Eagles 28-3, but they hung in with the Steelers up until the end before the Steelers pulled away, and then they hung in with the Commanders. Commanders had it in hand, but they kept it close. This team will fight. That's the one thing that I want people to understand about the Giants. They've been fighting all season. It just hasn't looked completely good. But they're at 27 right now, and I hope Coach Brian Daboll keeps his job. I know that sounds well. I like him as a coach. He's got a good vibe to him. He just got to get the right pieces around him. So hopefully they'll let him get to that point. At 26, the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland fooled me last week, week before last. They went in there, beat the Ravens. I'm like, okay, here's comes the turnaround. And no, the Chargers went in there, beat them 27-10. I was hoping for good things for Jameis. The 3-interception day does not help. 26 for 46, 235 yards. Keep, Deshaun in for that much, but he obviously is hurt. I want to see Jameis do well because I'm a big Jameis fan, but that was a tough outing for Jameis Winston and the Cleveland Browns. They're at 26. At 25, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville had it. Driving down the field, getting beat up the entire game, driving down the field at the end, had a chance to win it, and then Trevor Lawrence throws a pick in the end zone. I was disgusted. I said, well, what is this? What is this? But I digress. The Eagles, did what they need to do to get the dub, and then the Jaguars fall to 2-7. and they're looking to be picking that top pick is going to be very interesting if they end up getting it. So, what do you do with that? Trevor Lawrence, you paid him big money, and you're not going to go quarterback. And if you are, that means you're trading Trevor Lawrence at some point. But I don't know. Jaguars should have never let Christina go, but that's exactly what I mean. At number 24, you got the Miami Dolphins. I feel like it's gonna eventually click. I don't think it'll be too little, too late by then. But I feel like they'll get back to winning a little bit here soon. But with Tua being out, it kind of messed up their mojo. So I got them at 24, but I feel like at some point it gets fixed. So we'll wait. Dolphins at 24. At 23, the Dallas Cowboys. Boy, they are falling apart, aren't they? I mean, it is hard to watch them fall apart. What am I saying? I mean, most fans are ecstatic that things have gone the way they've been going for Dallas. But now with Dak being out for 4 weeks, who knows where this Dallas team is going to be looking at, and they could be drafted high by that time. And so they got Philly coming up, they got Washington coming up. It could get really bad for the Dallas Cowboys. They're at 23. At 22, the New York Football Jets. The Jets found a way to get a win last week on Thursday Night Football against the Texans. Messing my Thursday night record the last couple of weeks has been a disaster, and they just piled onto it. But the Jets win 21-13 over the Texans with a beat-up Texans receiving core. No Nico Collins, no Stephon Diggs. It's just Tank Dell out there, and it just wasn't enough. And so right now, the Jets are kind of climbing their way, trying to sneak into that outside looking in and get back on the right track. It's still early in the season. Technically, it's halfway through. They can make a move here. They get the 6-6. All bets. I don't say all bets are off, but things could change. Jets are at 22. At 21, the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts lost a tough one to the Vikings, 21-13. They have Flacco starting now. It makes a little bit of a difference, but this Colts team is a team that I feel like there may be a couple players away to really be good, or be contender for a while. They've got to figure out what the deal is with Anthony Richardson. Are they going to keep him long term? Because there definitely were teams that reached out at the trade deadline to see if they're interested in trading. So, and just interesting stuff all the way around. Okay, there's the bottom. Patriots, Saints, Raiders, Panthers, Titans, Giants, Browns, Jags, Dolphins, Cowboys, Jets, and Indianapolis Colts. All right, there we are for the bottom here for week number 10 as we head into week 10. Now let's go ahead and knock on the outside looking in. All right. So, with the outside looking in, at number 20, we got the Seattle Seahawks, 4-5 on the season. A team that lost just a rough one in overtime to the Rams, 26-20, in a game that they had the lead in early, but they faded late. Geno threw like a 103-yard pick six. That was hard to watch if you're a Seahawks fan. And they're sitting at 4-5. They were 3-0 at one point. So now they're 1-5 in their last. What is that? They're 1-5 in their last 6 games. And so that's something that's got to change. But it's early for Coach Mike McDonald. I think they have pieces that they can kind of figure things out there. Still, people ain't gonna like what I'm about to say. Put Sam Howell in. I think things will change. That's just me. I know people are like, you talking crazy. I'm telling you. You watch. At 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had a nice battle with the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday night. They almost beat them. They took them into overtime, despite not having Mike Evans, despite not having Chris Godwin. That Tampa Bay team never gave up, and they put up a lot of fights. So I like them, and if they can find a way to just kind of hang on, who knows? If they get Mike Evans back healthy, they still can make a little noise. Tampa at 19. At 18, the Bengals, 4-5. They get a 41-24 victory over the Raiders. I still, this is one of those teams where, like, I every time I think, okay, maybe this is the time, it's not the time. So we'll see how things go in the next couple of weeks. I still, T. Higgins' situation just seems to continue to get murky over and over. They still got to pay Chase, and I feel like they could be wasting Joe Burrow right now. They've got to figure it out. They went from being a Super Bowl team a couple years ago to figuring out what's going on here. Bengals at 18. At 17, the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams and the crew went into Arizona, and it just didn't look good. You got to remember now, they lose 29-9 to an Arizona team that got destroyed by the Commanders, 42-14. And I say to myself, like watching that Bears Commanders game week before last, I felt like it should have been a bigger blowout, but Washington couldn't capitalize. They hurt themselves. So, but anyway, the Bears are still a legit team that will still give people problems. Their next, they play the Packers next week. The Packers are on a bye this week. The Bears are at 17. At 16, the Rams. Rams are at 400. They're getting healthier, and they could turn the tide. I had this team going to the Super Bowl. I know. Don't y'all beat me up too bad for it. But I just don't know how they finish. They could make the playoffs. They're going to be in contention for that, but we'll see. But they are right now in contention for that that NFC West, where you can see here that all four of the NFC West teams are in the outside looking in. So who's gonna knock on the door the right way to take that division when the time comes? Rams at 16. At 15, the 49ers. 49ers were on bye last week. They'll come back strong this week. They got Detroit on Sunday night. No. I lie. They don't have Detroit on Sunday night. That's the Texans that got Detroit on Sunday night. The 49ers will be taking on the Bucs, which will not be an easy game. The Bucs have still been fighting hard despite being nicked up. At 14, the Denver Broncos. Denver got demolished by Baltimore. It wasn't pretty. It was quite ugly. 41-10. It looked like it might have been close for like a smidget. Then it's like, no, not the way you think, my guy. And then we saw the Broncos got their butts handed to them, but they're still 5-4, and they're still in playoff contention. So they're a young football team. You have to remember that. At 13, the Arizona Cardinals. Somehow they're in the division lead. And like I said, I've seen this team in person. I don't know how they're doing it, but they are in the division lead. And that's all I can say. That's all I can say about Arizona. At 12, the San Diego Chargers, a.k.a. the LA Chargers. This is another team that's just winning games, and I don't know how it's happening. But I guess maybe I should pay attention a little bit more. But they're winning games. They're 5-3. They could. If I'm not mistaken, they would be in the playoffs right now as a 6th seed. But we'll get into that a little bit later here on the show. At number 11, the Tennessee Texans. The Houston Texans are number 11. Houston couldn't get the win. They were a top 3, top 5 team throughout this season, and now they a little bit of a setback with the loss, and so we'll see if they can knock their way back into the top 10 if they can beat Detroit this week, which would be quite amazing. All right, here it is. Outside looking in for week 10. We got Seahawks, Bucks, Bengals, Bears. Oh, look at that. Triple Bs. Rams, 49ers, Broncos, Cardinals, Chargers, and the Houston Texans rounding out the outside looking in at number 11. All right, so we are at the point where it's time to get it going. It is our top 10, and it starts now. Top 10. At number 10, the Green Bay Packers, coming off of a little bit of a devastating loss, in my opinion, to Detroit. Detroit is running that division now, and it's just the way it kind of went down that made me upset. Jordan Love has to reel it in. He's got to stop making stupid mistakes. And somehow they still were in the game until the very end. Maybe it was a little bit out of hand maybe a couple minutes ago, but they were still in that game for a while, and they just couldn't figure it out. Young and dumb at times. I love them, but young and dumb at times. The Green Bay Packers are at 10. At 9, the Atlanta Falcons, a team that who knows could make some noise. Young in a lot of positions, but very experienced at the position they need the most at the quarterback. And they are continuing to do good things. I like what the Falcons are kind of presenting, and I think that they could make a run. I don't know if they go to the Super Bowl, but I definitely think that they can make a run, especially after they beat Dallas 27-21, and they just seem to kind of get it all together. Falcons at 9. At 8, the Baltimore Ravens. We talked about Baltimore being able to do what they need over the Broncos, a 41-10 victory. They pick up I say it wrong. It's either Latavius White or Latavius White. I always destroy it. But from the Rams, former Pro Bowler, he's now in Baltimore, which 2 great pickups by Baltimore. They get Deontay Johnson last week, and then they get White this week before the trade line expires. So we'll see if Baltimore can work something out of it. At number 7, the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota finally gets a win after a 2-game losing streak to get back to their winning ways after a win over the Colts. They are a team that will be trying to crank things back up against the Jaguars, a team that somehow will compete in that game, will somehow find a way to lose it. At number 6, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh is looking good. Pittsburgh 6-2, keeping things going. They were on the bye last week. They got the Commanders this week. It's been my first time seeing the Steelers play in person, so I'm very excited to see what the Steelers look like in person, just as an organization. See how the fans kind of handle things. We'll see that at Northwest Stadium this week as they take on the number 4 team in this power ranking, the Washington Commanders. The number 5 team in this power ranking, the Philadelphia Eagles. Philly had a little rough go. They dropped for a while. Now they've climbed back up. They're 6-2, playing good football. And, that week they had last week was really nice for them. And then you see Saquon Barkley hurtling over people backwards. This man's an animal. Saquon's always been one of my favorite players in the league, and he continues to show why. And I'll see him next Thursday night and on Thursday Night Football in Philly. At number 4, the Washington Commanders. Man, left hand up, who are we? The Commanders. They beat the Giants to do what they need to do against the Giants. They sweep the Giants. First time I've ever seen them do it. First time I've been to a lot of Commanders-Giants games, and it was the first time I see him do it. So shout out to the Commanders. They get Marshawn Lattimore before the trade deadline. Things are cooking in D.C. They're at number 4. At number 3, the Buffalo Bills, 7-2. I thought they were going to fall off without, Stephon Diggs. They bring in Amari Cooper to give them a solid back, receiver there, but they're playing well. I don't know if it translates to them going to the Super Bowl, but they're playing well. So shout out to the Buffalo Bills at 3. At 2, the Detroit Lions. They beat the Packers 24-14 in Lambeau. Then they start getting real disrespectful, start blowing kisses at the fans. I don't like none of that. I can't. For a long time, I used to say, hate the Vikings. The Bears were to me, and the Lions just didn't matter. Now it's starting to change. They're starting to matter, and it's starting to really make me mad in certain ways. But, hey, the Lions are rolling. They're 7-1, and they're just waiting for the Chiefs to mess up so they can jump into that top spot here. As you see, the Kansas City Chiefs, the only undefeated team left in the NFL, 8-0. They won a tough game against the Buccaneers on Monday night to move to 8-0. And Pat Mahomes, despite the injuries, still found a way. And I'm still mad at Travis Kelce, and I'll have to talk about that a little bit later. All right, top 10, Packers, Falcons, Ravens, Vikings, Steelers, Eagles, Commanders, Bills, Lions, and the Kansas City Chiefs are number 1 once again. All right, so there it is. Our power rankings are locked and loaded. Now it's time to head to the finale, finish this thing up, and see how we get ready for this week and some things from last week. All right, so let's go ahead and start it off the way we started off, and that's with the Kings of the Gridiron.
Let's get ready to rumble. Who won't war in the ring? Who won't war with the king? Bring all the balls you can bring. It ain't gonna cost you a thing. You ain't bring the sauce to the ring. You must send the sauce in the ring.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Back for another edition of Kings of the Gridiron here on 101. And this week we got the Week 9 Kings of the Gridiron. Let's go ahead and start on the offensive side of the ball and head to the city of brotherly love to talk about Saquon Barkley, who is our offensive king of the gridiron for Week 9. Let me tell you something about Saquon Barkley. What a special week that he had, but he's been having a special season in general in Philadelphia. 27 carries, 159 yards, 3 receptions, 40 yards in the air, 2 total touchdowns, one on the ground, one in the air, and a 28-23 victory over Jacksonville. Jacksonville gave them a little bit of a scare, but in the end, Philadelphia was able to get the win to move to 6-2 on the season. They're right there behind the Washington Commanders in the NFC East. But, man, Saquon Barkley continues to impress. I mean, man, what are they going to do with Saquon Barkley as he continues to just go off on a week-to-week basis? He is our offensive king of the gridiron for Week 9. Now let's head to the defensive side of the ball, and we head to Cincinnati. We head to Ohio and a battleground state, but those days are unfortunately over. But with that being said, let's talk about Trey Hendrickson. He is our defensive king of the gridiron for week number 9. Trey had a day of days. He had 4 tackles. All 4 tackles were sacks on the day. 4 tackles, 4 sacks, and a forced fumble in a 41-24 victory over Las Vegas. What's continuing to happen here for the Bengals is they try to still figure out this season. Some weeks it looks good, some weeks it doesn't look so hot, but Trey Hendrickson has had a Pro Bowl season, maybe even an All-Pro season. So shout out to Trey Hendrickson. He is our defensive king of the gridiron. So there it is, our kings of the gridiron for week 9 of the NFL season. Saquon Barkley, 27 carries, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 28-23 victory over Jacksonville. And Trey Hendrickson, 4 tackles, 4 sacks, a forced fumble, and a 41-24 victory over Las Vegas. I'm Darrell Owens, and this has been Kings of the Gridiron for week 9 of the NFL season. We'll see you back for week 10 to see who will be the kings of the gridiron. There you are, Kings of the Gridiron, Kings of the Gridiron, Saquon Barkley, Trey Hendrickson. Shout out to those guys being our Kings of the Gridiron for week 9. Our NFL MVP race stays exactly the same from last week. I got Goff at 1, Daniels at 2, Jackson at 3, Allen at 4, and Derrick Henry at 5. Personally, I mean, you probably could toss a couple other people in there maybe, but for me, this is where it stands as we speak right now. If the playoffs started today, the number 1 seed in the AFC, the Kansas City Chiefs. The number 2 seed would be the Buffalo Bills. This is a difference. Last week, we saw the Texans in that spot. The Bills would take on the Broncos in a playoff game, a team that nobody saw making the playoffs this year. The number 3 seed would be the Pittsburgh Steelers, not the Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers, taking on the Chargers, which would be a very interesting contest between Mike Tomlin and Jim Harbaugh. On the opposite end of things, the number 4 seed, the Houston Texans would take on the number 5 seed, Baltimore Ravens. That's where the AFC would stand. In the NFC, we would see the Detroit Lions, the 1 seed, getting the bye. The number 2 seed, Washington Commanders, would take on the number 7 seed, the Green Bay Packers. Now, I have to say this. If this happens, I'll be a very happy man. Low key. Very happy man. Playoff action? All right, whatever. At number 3, we got the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, the 3 seed Falcons taking on the 6 seed Eagles. And then we have the 4 seed Cardinals taking on the 5 seed Minnesota Vikings. So that's where the playoffs stands right now if it started today. Then we've got your boy for last week, 81-57 on the season, 12-4 in week 8. And that's wrong. I went 8-7 last week. So that 11-4 is completely wrong. I definitely did not have a great week last week. I was pissed. So that is a lie. I was 8-7 last week, just to throw that out there. So it is what it is. Tonight's matchup, we got the Baltimore Ravens and the Bengals. I got the Ravens winning this one 27-24. I think they get the dub. I think they get the 7-3. I think they're starting to really keep the pressure on. But this is a big game for the Bengals. They need this game to get back to 500. They really need it. And the Ravens are unveiling their new helmets on television tonight. So can't wait to see those. And then last but not least, here are our picks for the week. I've got the Ravens, Commanders, Giants, Chiefs, Jaguars, Falcons, 49ers, Bills, Bears, Chargers, Eagles, Jets, Lions, and the Los Angeles Rams. That's how I'm going to finish it up. All right, everybody, that's it. episode 147 or 101 in the books here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course airing on the amazing Bowie Television. We'd like to thank you all for tuning in. Make sure y'all have a chance to enjoy some football this weekend. I got Pittsburgh and Commanders, so I'll be heading to DC for that. That ought to be a lot of fun. See Russell Wilson in person. TJ Watt be the first time I get to see those guys. And so it'll be a great weekend for football, and I hope you all definitely enjoy it. We'll see you all next week for week 11, already power rankings. Man, time is now. We may come at a special time next week because I'll be in Philly. So this episode will probably air at 12 noon next week, and then it will be and then it'll air on Bowie TV later that evening. So once again, everybody, thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all, and we'll see you all next time here on 101 on the Legacy Maker Sports Network and Bowie Television.
One. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof.